Alright, today we're starting up with the O section of the history of the Monster Manual. And we've got ochre jelly. Now all of these oozes and jellies and slimers and all of those things, in the modern Monster Manual, those have been just reclassed as oozes. So basically there's 4 different kinds in the modern Monster Manual. The black pudding, the gelatinous cube, totally famous creature. Gray ooze, which really you don't see very often, and ochre jelly. Is there one more? There is not. All right. And then you had a giant octopus, ogre. Ogres are not very exciting. They're just your standard old beat stick. In the Monster Manual that I'm making for my own game, yes, I'm plugging it here and there, I have these classified as brutes. And so brutes can have different combinations of abilities that give them something unique. All right, let's move on. Ogre Mage in the new one, and it was called Japanese Ogre, became Oni, which of course is like a Asian demon type creature. And they did give it more of a generic appearance. In the old Monster Manual, it definitely did have that, Japanese samurai vibe to it. And of course orcs, and orcs got a lot of attention. They're a classic monster. This is a used Monster Manual, so I'm going to not think about these brown spots too much. I'm choosing to believe that it's Taco Bell Burrito Supreme. You have the Otyugh, which I do believe doesn't come from history, or not history obviously, from mythology at all. I think it's a whole cloth creature. And of course, I think they're really cool. I love things that have, there's a word for it, I can't remember it now, but it's like everything in the dungeon makes sense. It has an ecology, there's a reason for it being there, verisimilitude, something like that. Anyway, Otyughs, basically they eat all the garbage and the sewage and everything, and I think they're a great monster. There's a lot of great art out there about them. And but in the new Monster Manual, the art's okay. Let's see, let's get past the oozes here. As there's orcs, 1, 2, there's 4 pages on orcs. Something I love they've done is they did like different stat lines. So they gave you like at least different options and stuff. And the art for orcs is really cool. Of course, Games Workshop Warhammer orcs are green, and they have more human tones in, in other types of publications. So the Otyugh, yeah, has some pretty cool art. And, of course, a giant owl, just a creature. Owlbear. Now, look at the original art for the owlbear. Yeah, it was pretty gimpy and unimaginative. Of course, they've done tons of better art as time has gone on. And the owlbear is just this amazing classic creature. And sure, it's a beat stick. It literally has, other than keen sight and smell, it has no additional abilities. And in the original Monster Manual, it talked about chances of them being in there, like having young and things like that. And they did lay eggs. And I think that's probably still the case here. Nope. Quick scan reveals indeterminate. All right, now we're on to the P's. So there really was no change in the Monster Manual in the O section. So you've got Pegasus, Periton. Now I have no idea if this comes from mythology or not. It kind of feels like it does. And other than having an interesting story type thing, like they eat people's hearts and stuff like that, they really aren't unusual. They're just kind of a beat stick. But well, I take that back, because you can, in 5th edition, you can fly, attack, and then fly again. And, of course, they are specialists in that, which presents a unique tactical issue. So next up would be the Piercer, which is the same in the modern Monster Manual. Now, look at the art for the Piercer in the original one. I used to think that it was the guy's head. Like I was like, oh, does he pierce people or something like that? No, it doesn't. And I think they show like little eyeballs on the stalactites. And but of course it's not a head, it's the base, it's the trunk of the stalactite, and it's going through a guy's chest. And of course later they made them part of it's the larval form of, oh hello, I'm so sorry. Well, I'm actually about to run out of battery. All right, well I guess that's it for, well I'll just go until it turns off automatically. Okay, so piercer, giant pike, pixie. Pixies are still in there. I love fairy creatures, and look at all the abilities they have. These guys were definitely not dumbed down at all. Confusion, dancing lights, detect evil, detect thoughts is hugely powerful. Dispel magic, entangle, fly, phantasmal force, polymorph, sleep, and if you get a bunch of them together, you know, that could be a real challenge. And I do believe they're they're neutral good. Interesting. And sometimes people in their campaigns are like, oh, my party is acting evil, they're murder hobos. You know, they did all these awful things. Well, fairy creatures are the perfect counter to that, the perfect consequence for that. Maybe that guard that they killed off was protected by fairy creatures. Stuff like that. And of course, the original Monster Manual is just loaded with giant versions of regular creatures. Typically no illustration for them. Giant porcupine, giant Portuguese man-o-war. I wonder if there's a pseudo-dragon in this one. Which there is. Wow, I am actually really surprised. With great art and a whole page spread, it's really wonderful. And it looks like I might be able to make it through the piece. Yeah, Purple Worm is the last one. And this was great. This was a D&D original, and just really absolutely cool. And there is a variation called the Mottled Worm. And that's something I really liked about entries like this is the variations. And it's something that in the Monster Manual